Hello, I'm Chris Flisher, and welcome to Turning of the Wheel, an intelligent, lively discussion on astrology, art, and adventure. Timing is everything, and as the great wheel turns, we are best prepared when we are best informed. Join me as I explore the current planetary alignments and offer insights for coping with change. Educational, informative, enlightening, the Turning of the Wheel is a welcome pause in your daily swirl of constant change. Through intelligent discourse, inspired guests, and educational segments, I will help to enlighten your knowledge of astrology and guide you to accept change as the great wheel of life turns. Call in with your questions and speak with some of the greatest visionaries in the time-tested practice of astrology. Turning of the Wheel, Astrology, Art, and Adventure with Chris Flisher, each Thursday, live, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, on Contact Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turning of the Wheel. My name's Chris Flisher. We got a wonderful show today. This is a show about astrology, art, and spiritual adventure. And, we never know what we're going to have in those days, but we're always going to have a variety of one of those three things. And today we're going to be talking about astrology. And it's a wonderful topic we have today. My guest is Maria DeSimone, and we're going to be talking about the solar return. The solar return is significant for every one of us because it happens at least once a year. What it means is that when the sun returns to the exact degree where it was at the time of your birth, for example, if you were born at 12 degrees, if the sun was at 12 degrees Aries when you were born in 1952, and all of a sudden the sun is back there in the year 2008, you take a glimpse, a snapshot of what that picture looks like, and you see where the rest of the planets are in your chart and the houses in which they are, and it kind of gives you a good indication of where your life is going to be coming up for the next year. It's very, very accurate, and it's a wonderful way of predicting what's going on. Before we get on to my guest, who's on the line right now, I understand, I just want to run down a few quick things with you, if I could, about what's going on in the world today. We have 4 of the major transpersonal planets are in retrograde, and so that's from Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter are all in retrograde motion right now. And Pluto's at 28 degrees retrograde of Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is a great sign for sort of these lofty political ideas that we see coming out of Denver these days, and it's very relevant that, sort of there's a change at foot there. And I think that what we're going to see over the next few months, getting into January and December, then December, January, and February and beyond, is an enormous shift, an enormous change with regard to the whole political structure. I'm not going to say what that's going to be, but I can tell you it's going to be significant change, and it might not quite be what we have in mind. I don't want to be a naysayer. I don't want to be anyone that predicts anything at this point in time. I want people to be aware of the fact that, some of these changes are evident. Now, about 6 or 7 months ago, we talked about the power of Pluto and how it rips down, huge institutions whenever it gets into the sensitive degrees of a cardinal sign. Well, when Pluto was back in 0 degrees Capricorn, we are now seeing the manifestation of that in many of the world orders, especially with regard to Russia and China and the tensions that's heating up over there. These are just things I want you to be aware of. Neptune's at 22 degrees Aquarius retrograde. Uranus is at 21 degrees Pisces retrograde. Saturn is holding steady at 11 degrees Virgo. And Jupiter's at 12 degrees Capricorn retrograde. I sound like a traffic announcer, I know, talking about the expressway traffic, but these are the expressway traffic in the universe, and this is the way the planets are driving today. So, without further ado, I want to get my guest on. Her name is Maria DeSimone, and she's a wonderful guest, and she's had a great deal of experience working with the solar return. And I'd like to welcome her to Turning of the Wheel today. Maria, welcome to the Turning of the Wheel.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Well, I gave people a brief introduction, I should say, of what the solar return is all about. But since you're far better versed at it than I, why don't you go elaborate a little bit more about the significance of the solar return and how it really plays out for each of us every year?
I would love to.
Great.
Well, basically, a solar return is a chart that's erected every year for the time that the transiting sun returns to the exact position of your natal sun. Mm-hmm. And this happens for all of us once a year. It happens either the day before, the day of, or the day after your birthday. And
you got a 3-day span there where that sun gets back to the same spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is part of the reason why it's important to have your proper solar return cast, because you can't always assume that it happens on your birthday every year.
Right. People often have that misconception, I think.
Yes. And another element to the solar return chart is that it is cast for the location that you are in at the moment of your solar return every year. So that can change every year, or it can change if you've moved, if you happen to be on vacation during your birthday time. it is important to, in my opinion, use that location because the energy that imprints from the sun onto you, I think, has the most power if you use the location that your body, is at during that time.
So it's critical to know the location. If you're in a new location, many people are not where they were when they were born. Oftentimes we move to different places, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's also where the other planets in your chart are at that time because they are not going to be aligned the same way they were at your birth.
No, they're not. And for the solar return chart, it's read very similar to a natal chart. The main difference, though, is that we're not concerned as much with the signs. We're concerned with the houses of the planet.
The houses, where the action takes place.
Where the action takes place, obviously the most important planet is the sun, because this is a solar return. And it sets up what I call a theme chart for the year. And it's a really good overview. If you look at nothing else, if you don't look at transits or progressions or solar arc directions for the year, and you just look at that solar return chart, it gives you a taste of what major themes a person is likely to encounter during that year.
Now, which planets do you look at in particular, aside from the sun?
Well, I look at all of the planets. You read the solar return chart just like you would a natal chart.
Right. So when you're looking for what's coming up in the year ahead, what are the key planets you're looking for? You're looking for the personal planets. You're looking for the mundane planets that are further out. I'm always looking at the sun, the house position of the sun, the aspects that the sun makes to other planets. Mm-hmm. So it will be different for everyone. That shows where you're basically shining a light for that year, the big news for the year. Now, the moon in the solar return chart will show areas of fluctuation that you can expect for the coming year. What is going to change? So now, let me ask you a question before you go on. Maria, is the sun when the sun returns to its solar position, like say you were born at 12 degrees Aries, your sun was at 12 degrees Aries, and the sun returns to 12 degrees Aries, is that not going to be in the same house it was initially?
No. Every year it's going to be in a different house.
Okay.
There are years that your solar return chart will actually mimic your natal chart very closely. Mm-hmm. And so there are years when, let's say you have the sun natally in the 7th house, then the solar return year when that sun is in the 7th house again, you're kind of emphasizing all of those natal 7th house sun issues that you have. They will come to the forefront. But it's not the case that every year the sun is going to be in that house that it was natally.
I see. Good. I wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Yeah, sure. So another important element to look at in a solar return chart is the ascendant, because the ascendant, the ruler of the ascendant, whatever planet that is, where the ruler of the ascendant in your solar return chart is going to also signify some important themes and events that might be happening. So really, once you kind of just put in your head that you're reading a birth chart, and don't even worry that it's a solar return chart. You're reading a birth chart, and you're just looking at themes, and you're focusing on the houses and the aspects more than the signs. It's a very simple tool for astrologers to use. Another important aspect to the solar return chart is when a solar return planet happens to fall on the exact degree or near the exact degree of a natal planet or one of your angles, one of your natal angles. That's extremely important. For example, if, let's say, let's say your solar return midheaven, you've got natal Venus that is almost right at the top of that chart, so your solar return midheaven for the year. That shows some very nice things possibly happening for you career-wise. Venus at the top of your chart for the year.
Absolutely. Listen, we've got a caller here. We've got to see if we can get the caller on. We've got a quick question here. Gigi's calling from Kansas City. Go ahead, Gigi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. This must be Glams.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. What's your question, Gigi?
Well, I would love to have some astrological insight. I just want to press delete and restart my entire life, and I'm real excited to do that, but I'm also kind of scared, and I would love some insight.
Okay, well, what's your birthday?
My birthday is April 18th, 1963.
Okay.
I was born in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
At 2:13 p.m.
Okay, 2:13 p.m. Great. Just give us a few minutes to work that up, and we'll get to you about that. In the interim now, so the sort of stuff that you're looking for, Gigi, you are going through some major changes in your life right now, and you're beginning to see, some changes coming down your life, and you want some advice as to which way to go.
Absolutely, yes.